Welcome to the Nevcast, where three bros talk business, art, justice, and the pursuit of Jesus.
Any day above ground is a good day.
Get ready to laugh, cry, and kiss 30 minutes goodbye with Peter Nevland,
Dave Nevland,
and
Rashid.
Old school connection there.
Hello?
It's
Hello?
me.
Hey, what's up, good brother?
It's Peter, the
We're
meter
back.
reader.
Peter the meter
What's up?
reader.
Here we are on the
Yeah.
Nevcast. It's Champ's twin.
You do look like this Usher, Peter, man.
I look like Usher.
Yeah,
Wow.
you
You-
look like
So much.
You always say that I look like Usher. Why do you say I look like Usher?
you do look like you look like the singer. You look like a white Usher.
You saying I got big ears and I'm goofy looking too?
No, I'm saying y'all favor. Y'all, all three of y'all, you, Champ, and Usher, all y'all favor. Y'all
Well,
all looking like.
You know the deal. You know maybe there's something to that because Usher thinks he discovered Justin Bieber, but he didn't. I discovered Justin Bieber.
Now, that's a true story.
That actually is a true story. We'll get into that at some point.
Oh, yeah.
So
I remember
maybe
you
the-
told me about that.
Maybe that's people that look like me apparently are like down with Justin Bieber. Maybe that's the deal.
But Usher says he discovered Justin
Well,
Bieber.
of course he discussed. I mean, look, he's the one who popularized him. He
Okay.
was the one who, the Justin Bieber had he had an agent, and the agent somehow got, Justin's YouTube channel in front of Usher, and then Usher, was like, oh man, this guy is, I can see stuff with him, whatever, and so then he figured out how to put on a tour, and before you knew it, he's selling out Madison Square Garden a few nights in a row. And I mean, it's not to downplay what Justin Bieber did, but
The golden handshake.
I mean, you had people that opened up some doors for him for sure.
You weren't exactly the golden handshake.
No, I didn't have the kind of connections that Usher has. I still don't.
Right, but you knew him as a runt.
You mean Justin Bieber?
Yeah,
I didn't know
Bieber.
Usher as a runt.
No, he never was one. But Justin Bieber, you knew as a runt.
I just hear that I look like him.
Justin?
No, Usher.
Oh, right, that's right.
But
Usher.
people tell me too. They'll be like, you got your little mini Justin Bieber haircut, and I'm like, what do you mean I got my? Just because I push it over to the side, they're like, yeah, you like Justin, especially when it grows out, and I'm like, well, my hair was like that when I first met Justin as a little boy.
So really, he's copying. He got it from you.
Maybe, I don't know. Is there some influence? Maybe we influenced each other. I don't know. I'd never talked to Justin anymore.
But now that he's on this podcast, he might.
Well, maybe we could get an interview with him. I don't even know who to. Maybe I could talk to his mom. I could talk to Patty.
She might remember you.
No, what she does. I mean, I've emailed her back
Yeah.
and forth a couple times.
But can she get a
You
hold
know
of
Justin
Justin?
Bieber's mama?
Yeah, Patty Millette. So she's got when she put out her book. Basically, the book was all of how she kind of overcame a lot of the issues and stuff in her life and everything. And so she came through Austin to do her book tour. And Patty's tiny. She's like, I don't know, she might be 4'11" or something like that. And she comes in on this one of those big, huge like RV expandable buses, and it's just she was like, hey, watch this, and the bus would like expand. I was like, this is like such a far cry from when we used to visit you in the housing projects in Stratford, Ontario, and be there with Justin anyway. But she rolls and she's like, hey, come with me while I go walk out. And so she goes, we walk out from her tour bus, and she's got like a whole team of people. She's like, what would I do without this team of people that just, does everything for me? I was like, what is this life? This is surreal. And so she walks out, and there are literally at least 200 girls in Book People in Austin, all lined up,
To talk to Justin Bieber's
mom. And it was Justin Bieber's mom, and I'm just like, golly, I just can't even imagine. I mean, and they were excited. These girls were like just lined up, like, I want to get an autograph. Oh my goodness, it's Patty! You're Justin Bieber's mom, whatever. And we're just walking out with her, and then we just let her go. And she went and did her thing after we, hung out with her in Austin. But that was like, I don't know, is that 10, 15 years after we first met Justin, and then it's probably been 8 to 10 years since then. So I don't think I haven't talked to her since then. But yeah, that was with Justin Bieber's mom. But that was after the original Justin Bieber thing. I didn't really want to talk about that today.
Not as many, yeah, right. And not as many people are trying to interview Justin these days.
All because Rashid thinks I look like Usher. That all came up.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, and and that's the other thing. Champ and Usher and I were all thin guys, right? We probably all look a little bit goofy. That's true. And, well, it's a very minor difference. I'm white and they're black, but what difference is that? People apparently think that's like the biggest difference in the world.
Well, we've covered that on another podcast.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So we could be brothers. Yeah. Champ and I definitely are. I love Champ. Anyway, hey, so Rashid, we were talking about, one of the things that we didn't cover on the last episode was where the name comes from, or not the name, but this thing of justice, business, and art, and why we talk about three bros talking about justice, business, and art. Do you know why the focus is on those three things and where that comes from?
Justice, business, and art.
Yeah.
I would think because guess because we all in business.
Well, there's that, yeah. And of course, talking about justice, that's like talking about life.
Right now.
Yeah,
anyway.
and art. And I know we all artists.
Yeah, well, that's true. So, and there's another reason why I thought that it would make sense to talk about those three things is actually it comes from Psalm 72.
Okay.
So I wrote a book called Exposing the Psalms out there, and Psalm 72, when I was doing research about Psalm 72, like I realized that Psalm 72 was about the Messiah and about his priorities of how he's going to get society back to the way he intended it when he comes. And so if you look at it, the first thing, it says, give the king your judgments, O God, and your righteousness to the king's son. He will judge your people with righteousness and your poor with justice.
Well, and it says it's a psalm of Solomon, who was known for his wisdom, but his wisdom was all about justice, how to administer justice. Yeah,
that's right.
And so this psalm is all about justice.
Yeah, so it starts with justice, and as it keeps going, then it says.
You just want to paraphrase it, or you want to read it, or no?
I'll read some of it. And
you got it right there.
It
I
says,
see.
The mountains will bring peace to the people, and the little hills by righteousness. He will bring justice to the poor of the people. He will save the children of the needy, and will break in pieces the oppressor. They shall fear you as long as the sun and moon endure throughout all generations. He shall come down like rain upon the grass before mowing, like showers that water the earth. In his days the righteous shall flourish, an abundance of peace until the moon is no more. Now, when it says like showers that water the earth, in his days the righteous shall flourish, that's talking about the economy flourishing. Because Israel at the time was an agrarian society. And in fact, when Solomon was, reputed to be the richest king that ever lived. And when the king of Tyre came, and Solomon gave him a tour of these cities that he was going to give him. He gave him basically these cities that would produce a lot of like wheat and stuff. But the king of Tyre, he got all of his income was from trading, from seafaring, and all this. Phoenicia is what we're talking about. They were the great seafarers of the day. And the king of Tyre was like, he was cultured, He knew everything that was out there. He'd had experience and everything. And he saw the cities in Israel that Solomon was going to give him for his help building the temple and stuff. And he literally called them good for nothing. He's like, they're worthless. What are these things that you've given me, my brother? Is what he said. He's like, what are these things you've given me, my brother? And so he called them, good for nothing, which, I don't understand. I guess they, were pretty close friends for him to be able to say that and get away with it. But, for Israel, their whole economy was based on growing agriculture, grain, like at the time. And so they had these, flourishing fields. And even now, there are kibbutzes in Israel that like they produce tons of crops and staple foods and everything like that. And so whenever in Psalm 72, the first thing he puts out there is that the Messiah's first priority is justice. And when he gets justice aligned, then he makes economies flourish. And so he makes business flourish. And then if you notice, and then it says, in his days the righteous shall flourish in abundance of peace until the moon is no more. That line is freaking awesome. Abundance of peace until the moon is no more. So what do you think that means?
Forever,
until the moon is no more.
Until the end of time.
Well, think about the moon.
Marks time.
Marks time. Okay, so it marks time.
Seasons,
what else does
marks
it? Seasons.
Yeah.
Right? The other thing that they used it for was an omen.
Yeah.
If you saw a moon that was like a blood moon, well,
Yep.
that indicated maybe something bad was going to happen or all this type. So think about this. Abundance of peace till the moon is no more. In that culture, they would think, well, if I don't need the moon anymore, there's so much peace that I don't even need to look to the sky or look for an omen to tell me that things are going to be good.
Yeah,
it's going to be so good
all the time
that I won't need the moon to tell me whether the day is going to be good or not, because it's always going to be good. Just like Rashi says, any day that you're above ground.
Any day above ground is a good day.
That's right. Any day above ground is a good day because you got abundance of peace until the moon is no more. So, and there's going to be a physical reality to that. Like right now, we just hold that as an internal reality. And so then Psalm 72 keeps going. He shall have dominion also from sea to sea, from the river, which is the Euphrates, to the ends of the earth. Those who dwell in the wilderness will bow before him. His enemies will lick the dust. Like his enemies are going to have their heads put down to the ground so much that they're just going to be like, oh, please spare us. And they just get their heads pushed down into the dust. So they can't even talk. Their mouth is like full of, so all of their lies, all of the accusations and stuff are going to be ended. And then it says the kings of Tarshish and the isles will bring presents. That's like far off places.
Right.
The kings of Sheba and Seba will offer gifts. Those are rich, wealthy kingdoms will come and bow down before this tiny little place in the world that everybody looks, and says, why in the world do they even exist? And it says, yes, all kings shall fall down before him. All nations shall serve him. He will deliver the needy when he cries. He goes back to justice, economy. The poor also, and him who has no helper, he will spare the poor and needy and will save the souls of the needy. He will redeem their life from oppression and violence, and precious shall be their blood in his sight, and he shall live. And the gold of Sheba will be given to him. See, here comes the business again. Prayer also will be made for him continually, and daily he shall be praised. There will be an abundance of grain in the earth. On the top of the mountains, its fruit shall wave like Lebanon, and those of the city shall flourish like grass of the earth. His name shall endure forever. His name shall continue as long as the sun, and men shall be blessed in him. All nations shall call him blessed. You notice it's like, so first he gets justice right, then the economy starts to flourish, and then worship and art starts to spring up. Blessed be the Lord God, the God of Israel, who only does wondrous things, and blessed be his glorious name forever. And let the whole earth be filled with his glory. Amen and amen. And then it says, the prayers of David, the son of Jesse, are ended. There's actually not a very good translation of that in the New King James. It actually means the prayers of David, the son of Jesse, are fulfilled.
Ah, yes.
So this is the fulfillment. Basically, Solomon was saying, this is the fulfillment of everything my father dreamed of when the Messiah comes. Because the promise was that God was going to build David and his family a house.
Yeah.
Which you don't do that in that culture unless you want to marry someone. You build them a house and invite them to live. Where every other god that was around, people would build a temple or house for the god to live in. And David goes, hey, God, I want to build you a house so you'll come and live with us. And God goes, that's great. I love that you want to do that. I got something better in mind. Let me build a house for you so you can come and live with me forever.
Yeah.
Because I want to marry you. I want intimacy with you. And so you see justice, business, and art springing up. And that's like Jesus' priorities. So if anybody, says, oh, well, you just need to behave right, but we don't need to fix the oppression and injustice in our society and stuff, you can just point into this psalm and go, actually, Jesus' first priority is justice. So you better get your crap right.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know?
but this turns the topic of the definition of justice on its head.
Why is that? Why has it turned the topic of justice on its
Well,
head?
because we've got the person in authority that everyone is submitted to, right? We've got the king on the throne, the King of Kings on the throne, and he is the one that we're ultimately submitted to his justice. But if you don't subscribe to that, if you don't want to subscribe to an ultimate king, then people basically talk about justice as just humans trying to be equal to each other and trying to make everyone equal. And who that just is a recipe for conflict.
So you're saying we need authority figures?
We need one. We need the one authority figure. I mean, justice in the kingdom of heaven is different than if humans were in charge of justice. According to this, I mean, I see that in there, all nations call him blessed, and they become blessed through him.
Right.
Right. Not blessed, not blessed on their own, or somehow, because somehow, I mean, it would be a never-ending struggle to try to get everyone to be equal.
Right.
Right. I mean, shoot. I mean, even in the U.S. Constitution, we're already created equal.
Well,
that's what it says.
That's
what it says.
Yeah, I know.
But
that's the concept. But then it also says that certain people only get counted as 3/5 of a person.
It did say that, and then that got nullified with amendments.
Right.
But yes, it wasn't perfect at then. But we're talking about the Constitution. It's not perfect. Right.
Yeah, made by people.
Right. No.
Human revolution.
Right. And they were, but even for its day, it was way beyond what had been around.
Sure.
You know, in history up until that point. But
Rashid,
we're not trying to defend necessarily the Constitution.
No.
But the basis of it being more towards the kingdom of God than the kingdom of men.
Yeah.
And submitted to his authority. He's the administrator of true justice. I mean, shoot, vengeance is mine. Let him have the vengeance. Let him have even the revenge.
Right.
I mean, and that's the other thing about justice is that God loves mercy more than justice. And in the kingdom of God, mercy and justice kiss each other. It's like
that's true.
There's something different about about the justice in the kingdom of God than what justice would be if it would just be up to us.
True.
And there's a mystery to that, and there's a pursuit of that we need to be about. I think if we're going to find the true freedom that comes from the justice of heaven.
What do you think about that, Rashi? Now that Dave's dropped the mic.
I don't really have like a lot of knowledge in that field, man. But it's something I have to really go and study on, man. Like y'all are too educated, good white men. And I have to study on it. I don't want to sound like I'm putting on.
Did we lose you?
Airs or nothing like that. I have to study. I heard you speak about the Psalms, a lot of stuff, because, you know, I follow you on YouTube. So
yeah,
I've heard you speak about it, but I don't really have a lot of knowledge on it. That's something that I have to study on. And
so what do you think? Well, just getting back, talking about, you know, we're talking about justice coming from, you know, the authority of Jesus as opposed to getting it from, say, like the legal system and stuff. Like, you know, what do you think?
The authority of the Father.
I think that everything should be based like off of God's laws. You know, I think that everything we need to go through God. I think when we take God out the equation, I think everything fails. I think that's what we done failed as a country. Like you know, I think what Trump was bringing it back to, you know, getting us to a point where we was like, you know, we was going by God's laws, but the devil's trying to get him out of there. So, you know, so he was bringing back no more abortion, He stopped the Planned Parenthood, stuff like that. So I think that any time that we take God out the equation, everything gonna fail, man. So, and we need more leaders like Trump and stuff in there who believe in God, and, and gonna bring stuff back to, bringing back, what people who believe in God. We don't need like devil worshipers like Obama to run the country and stuff like that.
Well, just throw it out there. So how do you know that? Like, how do you know that like Obama's a devil worshiper or Trump believes in God? I mean, Trump's done some not great stuff too, right?
No, I believe like the stuff is just about like Jesus say, you tell a tree by the fruit that it bear. Like I don't believe Trump did nothing wrong. He was basically saying abide by the law. And he was just saying abide by the law, and everybody was getting mad at him. Like he said, it's like stuff like he said about like illegal immigration. If I can't come, Peter, let me ask you something. If you was renting a room at your house, right?
Yeah.
And I just snuck in through the back window and just slept in that room for free every night and didn't pay you no rent. You know what I'm saying? I could go in your house and kill somebody or do anything. So that's basically what he was saying. So, but if you was look at it from if you use the common sense approach, you would say, man, look, he was basically saying, look, abide by the laws. The Bible tell you that. Abide by the laws of the land. So when you coming over here illegally and breaking up in our, coming in our country illegally and coming over here taking jobs and killing people and running back to your country, it just ain't right. Yeah. When I say Obama was a devil worshiper, when he legalized gay marriages, come on, man, that was when it's good. That's God. God frowns upon that, man. It says in the Bible, he said, I frown upon men trying to be women and women trying to be men. That's in the Bible. So that's why I say he devil. He said it was okay to abort babies. It's okay to kill a baby. Come on, man. You can't look at a baby and say, just because I don't want the baby, it's all right to kill it. That's devil worshiping. Moses said thou should not kill. So that's why I say Trump was following God and Obama was following the devil. It's just common sense. It's mathematics. It adds up. Trump he took away the funding to Planned Parenthood. He said, no, y'all not going to kill no damn babies. This is wrong. You can't kill.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So even releasing people, black people from prison who was incarcerated all them years for got all that time for selling weed and selling cocaine, and now they legalizing weed. So that's why I said, anytime that you got a person that's in place, that's in power, that's gonna give you a fishing pole versus give you a fish, the people don't want him there. So you know what I'm saying? So when you take God out the equation, everything fails. Everything gonna fall. So I do believe, we should always, follow God's rules, man, when we doing stuff. And we got to keep people that's not, that's not following God, you know what I'm saying, out of office, wherever. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I said Obama follows the devil and Trump was a man of God. He was saying abide by the rules, man, do what's right, make our country great. You know what I'm saying? You can't come over here illegally and go kill an innocent child and run back to your country and think it's okay. No, it's not fair. It's not fair to nobody. It's not fair.
Right. Now, Rashi, that's not a common perception that a lot of us have of people that grew up, sort of like in a, is it fair for me to say a gangster mentality? Like, how you grew up.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
But how did you come to that perspective? And I'm not saying whether, there's some parts of, I think, what you said that I definitely agree with, and there's some parts of what you said that I maybe don't agree with. But like, how did you come to that opinion about Trump and Obama, or even just conservative, liberal type of stuff? Because I would say, it's like in this most recent election, right? Even, Joe Biden said, oh, if you don't vote Democratic, if you don't vote liberal, whatever, then you ain't really black. Like Joe Biden said that, right? And everybody gave him a ton of grief for him. So I'm just asking you, the perception amongst most of the media, and I would even say most white people, is that black people vote Democratic, vote liberal, but you don't seem to be espousing that. How did you come to that?
I mean, that's
those
the
views?
narrative.
That's the narrative.
Right
I know.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, because clearly Condoleezza Rice is not voting for Obama or Joe Biden.
I mean, because of two studies and research, and I got an uncle. My uncle used to work for George W. Bush, Jr.
Uh-huh.
So, and then Joe Biden's a damn parasite, man. So, I mean, you can't listen to nothing that comes out of that dude's mouth, man. And I know that the black community has been at its best. Like, Trump brought almost 255,000 jobs back to urban communities alone. Obama only invited in a bunch of illegals and, put them on platforms. So I know Trump, he passed the First Step Act. He passed that. I got homeboys that just came home from, who come home on cocaine sentences. I had another homeboy that came home on another 30-year sentence.
Yeah.
And so when they sit there and told me that the man was racist, he never said nothing about black people. And that's why I was trying to get a lot of black people to see, like, look, you're an American. These people ain't Americans. So if you're American, why the hell would I be screaming, let's make Mexico great, when I got this dude over here saying, no, let's make America great. And I'm an American. So I'm going to roll with this dude saying, I stay in America. I'm not anti-America. You know what I'm saying? So I know through research that the Republican Party is the ones that freed the blacks. They always been for black folks. Malcolm X was a Republican. Martin Luther King was a Republican. Democrats, all they wanted to ever do was just keep us up under, how can I say it, like a system where we give you food stamps, we give you Section 8, and you know what that does? That stagnates your growth. But people don't know that. You don't want to grow when I give you Section 8 and I give you food stamps. I saw so many black fathers took out of homes by the Democratic Party. That's what they do. They take the black father out the home and they replace it with the food stamps, the wicked, the child support. You know what I'm saying? So I know we done been at the best with Trump, and I think honestly he was the best president this country ever had, man.
Yeah.
Interesting.
There's a different philosophy on the two sides. One you could say is outcome-based fairness or outcome-based equality. And
what the heck does that mean?
Well, the
outcome-based.
People, like the outcomes, that the goal of society is for everyone to be equal and to make the same and do the same.
Like
and
the circumstances will prove that they're equal. Is that what you're saying?
The end result is that everyone looks the same, is the same, has the same standard and stuff like that. And the other side of it, the other philosophy is opportunity-based equality. Like everyone has the same opportunity, or hopefully to have the same playing field to make a good life. Now, those two things are hard to reconcile with each other.
Sure.
And that's why we have two parties. Now, they don't usually talk about those. They're not usually given the opportunity to talk about the difference between those two ideologies. But that's at the base of it, and that's what animates people when they get to the base of it. Their either liberal or conservative ideology is. People believe that is righteous, to have everything on the outcome become equal and to try to get everyone to be equal. Now, there is something admirable about that, but the thing we have to consider is which one has worked and which one hasn't worked. And what Rashi is saying, he's saying that this outcome-based equality
Yeah.
has been shown not to work, because if you're just giving people stuff in order to try to bring them up to some level that they don't think that they're at, well, that's not, that you're just giving them, like he said, a fish instead of giving them a fishing pole. And the opportunity-based equality is giving the fishing pole and teaching how to look for the opportunities, look for the fish, become the fisher, become the opportunity hunter in a way, and therefore then you can. I mean, a free society is one where people see needs that other people have and fill those needs and get paid for filling that need, and be able to supply a different need for someone else. And freedom allows the people to go out and find those opportunities and make those opportunities, where instead of the government saying, oh, this is the need, who's going to fill it? It's just going to be your job. You're going to do this. Oh, there's another need. You need to do this. That's less freedom. But there are people that are very animated how that is justice if the government is the highest authority. If government run by people is the highest authority, well, and God, we don't care about God, then you can see how people would be like, no, that's real justice. The government determines and doles it out to whoever it sees needs to have it happen, instead of allowing people to see the need and go after the need. But the other side is, well, you could turn that seeing needs and opportunities into greed. And if your heart is not submitted to an ultimate authority, then it will turn into greed. And it gets castigated and gets attacked as greed, when the best part of it should be seeing a need, operating out of compassion. And yes, you get paid, or you get accounted for by fulfilling the need. That's history of free market economy. Sure. You get compensated, is what I meant. Keep looking for the word compensated for fulfilling that need. More people come to you, and you have the opportunity to provide more of those solutions.
So you also fall more on the conservative side of your political ideology, Dave.
Definitely, so it's one of philosophy.
Yeah.
It does definitely come from my experience with relating to God.
Well, you also grew up in a white home with parents who mostly voted conservative, and had that too, right?
It's true. But I can also look at history and watch that. Now you could say democracy and free market capitalism has been an experiment. Right. Was an experiment started however long ago, at least 250 years ago, in our society's case. But the other has been an experiment that has been tried too. About 100 years ago.
Yeah.
And those cases have been failures for people and their societies. They have been shown to be failures. So there's debate, and there's lots of discussion on both of those areas.
Well, and I would say, if you want to look at Haiti is an experiment in democracy gone wrong, because opportunity was given, and when people grabbed that opportunity, the people who were closest to the power grabbed the power and turned into dictators and abusers, just like their masters had been before Haiti was liberated. Right.
There's some spiritual overtones there too.
Well, there's spiritual overtones everywhere. So here, I'm gonna throw in another wrench. I would say that a culture or a system of basically outcome-based equality, where we're handing out, let's say packets of food and $50 to people and saying, here, this will make everybody equal, versus a system of opportunity-based equality. I would say that both of those systems can work, and both of them can fail. And I would say that the reason why that each one works, like if you just give somebody a fishing pole and give them an opportunity, but you don't walk with them to help them learn how to use the fishing pole and stuff like that, you're going to have some people that succeed and some people that fall right through the cracks because they didn't have, a good understanding of how to actually think for themselves or how to actually go find things out for themselves. Maybe their parents didn't teach them that whole mentality, right? And so if we just hand out the opportunity, well, there problems happen as a result when you just hand out the opportunity. On the other side,
right, need guidance. Needs to come alongside.
That's right.
Guidance.
If you just hand out outcomes and say, "Here, take this thing. This makes you equal," well, the same thing happens. If you don't have somebody walking with you to help show you how to take what you've been given and apply it to grow it, and because it essentially giving somebody an outcome that makes you equal is essentially opportunity too. So I would say the people that are on that side view it as I'm giving somebody who's in poverty, somebody who's in need, opportunity, outcome, right? That will make them equal to the rest of us. And I trust that person to be able to figure it out and to better themselves. Well, what we see is that's not necessarily happening in a lot of cases, but in some cases it is happening. There are some people who have actually been rescued and maybe they have become dependent on food stamps, but some people have been on food stamps for a little bit and then they got off them. And I'm not saying it's necessarily tons, but I would just say both of those systems can succeed and both of those systems can fail. But I would see that the difference between whether each of those systems succeed or fail, whether liberalism or whether conservatism succeeds or fails, is actually the presence of intimacy and relationship, the amount that we spend time caring for each other. And the only place that I really find somebody who's a perfect model of how to care for people, whether they succeed or fail, and how to basically walk through hell in order to see them succeed, is Jesus. Because he said, "Hey, I'm not just gonna give you commands from heaven. I'm gonna come down and become a little baby, experience every aspect of your life like you experience it, and then I'm gonna walk with you through it. And then ultimately, even if you reject me, I will give my life for you. I will allow you to kill me, so that I can prove to you how much I love you." Now that's what is oftentimes missing from a governmental solution, is that a governmental solution that doesn't point us to Jesus, well, is going to have flaws in it, is going to end up at some point failing. You either get corruption with the opportunity-based thing, with that conservative free market type, capitalism, whatever, you get corruption there. Or you can get corruption with the handouts, and the people doing the handouts a lot of times are stealing the money, or they're enslaving people who are used to having handouts in the first place. Yeah. It's like, so there's got to be relationship and intimacy that comes with it. I would say that, and that I think both parties, I would say we have something to learn from Obama. I know Rashi, you're saying you're like, well, he's a devil worshiper. I get what you're saying. I think we have something to learn from Obama and Biden. I think we also have something to learn from Trump and George W. Bush, all the Republicans. And so I don't put my trust in any of the people, because I know that they've all made huge mistakes. That's why, tell me I'm an idiot or whatever, but I couldn't handle picking either Biden or Trump because of the huge flaws that I see in both of them. I wrote in Jesus Christ for president. And I know that's, people, you're throwing away your vote. It's like, well, okay, that's fine. That's your opinion.
Hey, you voted your conscience. Yeah. Obviously you voted your conscience. And, there's a whole nother category of like, well, if everyone was limited to their one vote, then that's the way the system is supposed to work. Whoever receives the most confidence. Now we got to ask ourselves, and we got to watch, is that what happened?
Sure. But I'm just saying, look, you go back to Psalm 72. If we put our focus on Jesus, if everyone put their focus on Jesus, how would that change our society?
Radically.
Rashi, if we all put our focus on Jesus and don't worry about whether it's Trump or Biden, let's say, okay, look, apparently we're going to have Joe Biden as our president for the next 4 years. And the Bible says, whether you agree with them or not, you should pray for them. Pray for all leaders, all people in authority, right? And but what happens, Rashi, if all of us put our focus on following Jesus over the next 4 years, even with Joe Biden and his whole administration in office, as not being the ideal that you would want?
I mean, it would be we'd have a better world.
Yeah, right.
We have a better world. Yeah, it'll be a better world if we could all focus on God. But I don't. That's gonna be hard. It's hard to focus on God, and I'm not saying with me, with people in general.
Sure.
Like I got a friend that I ain't gonna mention his name, but he can tell me stuff about business all day, and he's a good businessman, right?
Yeah.
But he never tells me nothing about. Every time I hold a conversation with him, he never talks about God. And that's like majority of. I rarely see people that I know that talk about God. They only talk about business, sports, and other business ventures they trying to get into or something like that. But majority of the world, they say they believe in God, but they don't even talk about God or worship God. And that's what I've been seeing from around people. That's why I think the world is so messed up, because people don't follow God. People just focus on getting ahead, going on vacations, enjoying life. But when you really enjoying life is if you really, really know is when you follow God, man. It's like when you buckle down and follow God. I try to talk about God every day and follow him and pray to him every day. And it's weird to me when I see people that don't ever talk about God. Or when you hold a conversation with them, they talk about, I'm investing in stocks, or I'm doing this, or the football game is coming on. Yeah. And I'll be like, damn, this person don't ever talk about God. Right. It's rarely to run into people who talk about God on earth. You know what I'm saying? But I think the world would be a better place if we all focused on God, yeah. But that's hard, man.
It's hard. It's hard for me.
No, not for you though. You a God.
No, it's hard. I'm telling you, it's hard. Just yesterday I was on my knees going, God, please help me to keep you in view and keep you in mind, stay in your presence like all day, every day. Because man, it's like I gotta, as soon as I get done worshiping and God comes and showers his love on me and I'm crying and stuff, oh, you're so good to me, thank you, Jesus, I love you, all this kind of stuff. Then, right in the middle of that, Daddy, Daddy, poopy. It's like I got to go change a diaper and clean out my son's poop, right? And now I got the diaper, and then when I'm trying to clean off my son from his poop, and he starts starts kicking all, son, don't kick, the poop's gonna go everywhere, son, son, and it's like he would not be controlled. And my tendency is I'm like, I want to start raising my anger level rises, right? I want, no, stop kicking, you stop yelling, stop, right? It's like you want to, right. I want to use my power, whether it's my voice or even like grabbing his legs, holding his legs, and force him to stop kicking, right? And what I found out was in that moment, I had all of a sudden, God answered my prayer. And he goes, hey, why don't you try my way? Why don't you try kindness? Why don't you try to calm down? And why don't you try calming him down? And so I was like, right. Hey, Paxi, hey, Pax, buddy, I love you. And I care about you. And I need to get you clean, because if I don't get you clean, then you're going to start to feel pain. This poopy start going to make your skin feel bad and stuff. It's like, buddy, and he's like, no. It's like, buddy, hey, when you kick daddy, and when you're screaming at daddy, that hurts daddy. That hurts my ears. It hurts my heart too, buddy. Buddy, hey, if we don't do this, if we can't get you clean, then we're not going to be able to do this other stuff that you want to do. He's like, and all of a sudden he's like, and he calmed down. He's like, Willie, we can't do other stuff too? It's like, no, we can't do that if you don't calm down. So, and he's like, and I said, and you hurt Daddy's heart when you're screaming. He's like, I hurt Daddy's heart when screaming, yelling. It's like, yes, you hurt my heart. I don't want you to hurt my heart. I love you, buddy. I want to be close to you. Do you think you can be calm so I can wipe off your bottom so that you're not going to be hurting with your skin? And he was like, okay. But, okay, so in that moment, I'm telling you, I've failed a lot of times where he's been throwing a temper tantrum and I haven't responded well to it. You know, maybe I was more stressed that day or whatever. But man, this time, you know, God broke in and I had that choice. Do I focus on Jesus or not? Right? And I think we get into these situations with people who don't agree with us, whatever they spout, a philosophy that maybe we don't like or something. And we want to say, you know, it's easy to say, hey, you're just a devil worshiper. Go off and worship the devil and hopefully you'll go to hell. Or we can stop in that moment and say, hey, okay, so tell me, well, you know, I need to listen in this moment. How can I bring calm to this situation? Or how can I see the value in them? How can I see the beauty in them that I'm missing? Because apparently you see beauty in them, otherwise they'd already be gone. You know, if anybody's alive, and if anybody's alive, you still got a chance, like you said. You know, if any day that you're above ground is a good day, right?
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
And I think there's even a place in Ecclesiastes where it says a living dog is better than a dead lion. No.
Right.
If you're still alive, you may just be a dog and not a lion, but man, you're still alive.
It might open up.
There's hope, right?
It might open up some more conversations for some future podcasts right there.
Yeah, right.
Right there, like that one.
Living dog is better than a dead lion.
All right.
Yeah.
I like that right there.
I don't know. I mean, we're learning this together. You know, we're learning what each other thinks, right? How we respond when we throw stuff at each other that maybe we don't necessarily agree with or haven't thought about.
Share the links.
Yeah.
Nevcast.com.
Nevcast.com. You can go to Apple Music or Apple Podcasts. You can go to Spotify. Or you can go to, what's that URL, Rashi?
It's Peter Nevin Spat. I gotta look at it again.
It's Nevcast.com.
Hey, keep it with me. You can go to PeterCast.com, Spotify, Apple Music, or Apple Podcasts. Y'all boys go check it out, man.
What the heck is PeterCast.com? It's not PeterCast. It's the
No,
Nevcast. Nevcast.
No, Nevcast.com.
Just the Nevcast. The Nevcast.com.
Nevcast.com,
I'll
man.
tell you,
go check it out.
Don't go to PeterCast.
No, because we screw it up so much, I think people might remember it. Nevcast.com.
Well, what you going to find at PeterCast?
I guess I'm going to have to buy PeterCast.com now, too. URL.
Yeah.
Rushy, you are a master of the internet.
But no, you know what though, Peter? You know that's crazy though. You know, it's crazy that you said that because you know the whole time, every time I remember talking to you, I could never remember holding a conversation with you where you didn't talk about God. All the 20 years I've been knowing you now.
Yeah.
Over 20 years, 21 years, 22 years, something that.
Right.
But I never remembered holding a conversation with you without you talking about God. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I said that.
Well,
you know what I'm saying? So
yeah, I mean, nobody else loves me like he does. I mean, and he's, you know, I've never found anybody else that I can trust like I can trust God. I haven't found anyone who comes after me even when I'm screwing up and when I'm doing it wrong. So it's like if I don't actually believe that he's the solution for everything, then I guess I wouldn't talk about him all the time. But I do believe that if I look at him, what does it say? I think there's a line in C.S. Lewis at the end of C.S. Lewis, Till We Have Faces, and it says, "In your face is all the answers." And there's actually even a line like that in the Bible that it says that you know, in your light we see light.
Yeah.
Right? And whenever we're in the light of God, that's when our eyes get opened, and then we can see things for what they really are. And, you know, we just got to turn our attention to them, and not in some stupid, you know, religious, you know, self-righteous type of way of, oh, well, God, let me tell you right and wrong. Well, guess what? You know, right and wrong, man, that was that's maybe a future podcast. We can talk about the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. That's a good tree to eat from. That's sure a lot of problems came from that tree.
Awesome.
You know, so anyway.
Right.
But I hear you on that. Now I know. I guess maybe I'm just thankful that apparently God's changing me, and God keeps showing up and putting my eyes back on Him, because I need it all the time. I need Him all the time.
Yeah,
awesome.
No doubt.
Yeah.
All right. We'll see y'all on the next one.
All right. Okay. Yeah, I love y'all guys, man.
Yeah, I love you too, Rashid, man. That's it for the Nevcast this time. Join us next week when we talk justice, business, and art in pursuit of Jesus. We will see you soon.